Okay, in the previous videos, we worked on operations where we mostly knew what the answer was when we have to balance out equations. Now, in this case, we don't always know what the answer is, but we specifically focus on inverse operation. So an inverse operation is basically, in layman's language, the opposite of another operation. So here on the right-hand side, I highlighted that the inverse operation for addition is subtraction, and the inverse operation for subtraction is addition. So these are inverse pairs, and the inverse operation for multiplication is division, and the inverse for division is multiplication. So those two are pairs. Now in the first example, we can see that 10 plus something, 10 plus 4 minus 4 is equal to something. Right? We don't know what it is yet, but we know that it's an equation, and the left-hand side must be equal to the right-hand side. So this right here, plus 4 minus 4, is in fact an inverse operation that is given to you. In the previous video, we covered exactly this question. So right now, we're going to have to find out what the inverse operation is for some of them and what we need to add or subtract to make the equation true. So we've got 10, we add 4, and we subtract 4. So these I've crossed out because they are inverses. They already basically just mean that nothing is happening apart from the original value. So 10 plus 4 minus 4 gives us the original value of 10. Now at the second one, we've still got our equal sign. We start off with 125. We add something, we subtract something, and then we end up with an answer of 125, which means that whatever happens in between the plus 10 also needs to be subtracted once again in order for this to be true, because our 125 still needs to be 125 at the end. So whatever we add, we need to subtract as well. So if we've got 10, we subtract the 10 once again, so that in essence these two cancel each other out and we are left with the original value. Number 3, 4, 5, and 6. I'm going to challenge you. Copy them down on your paper and try them by yourself. Okay? And then I'm going to continue and do them, and then we can see if you are correct. All right. So firstly, here we can see that we've got something. We subtracted 1,000 and we added 1,000. Now quickly, I just want to ask you, first of all, where is the inverse operation? Right? I hope that you said that this is the inverse operation, because if I add 1,000 and I subtract 1,000, that's basically just as good as doing nothing at all. So these two cancel each other out. So that means that if those cancel each other out, whatever our first original value is on the left-hand side must be equal to that which we have on the right-hand side. So if we start out with 5,000, we subtract 1,000, 4,000, we add another 1,000, 5,000, we end up with 5,000. So that is correct, and that is correct. Number 4, we've got 20. What do we need to add so that when we subtract 30, our answer is still 20, right? So this is a little bit of a difficult one, because if we try and do the operation in our minds, 20 minus 30 is minus 10, right? Which is quite difficult for grades 4 and 5, because we only learn about negative numbers from grade 6. But what we can do is we can recognize that we've got a 20 on the left-hand side, we've got a 20 on the right-hand side. So what do we need to do here in the middle to make sure that the minus 30 will be cancelled out? Okay, so we need to add 30. 20 plus 30 is 50, minus 30 is back to 20. So in essence, this is our inverse operation. These are the values that are being cancelled out for this to be true. Okay, so we look for those pairs. Now, number 5, 100 plus 400 minus 400. Immediately, I hope it jumps out at you to see that we've got a plus 400 and we've got a minus 400, which is the inverse. So these two cancel out, and then that means that if we've got 100 on the left-hand side, we also need to have 100 on the right-hand side. So 100 plus 400 minus 400 is 100. Last one, if we've got nothing or something and we subtract 500 and our answer is 500. What do we need to do? Okay, so this one is a little bit more challenging, because here we actually have to go and do the inverse operation. So the first thing we need to recognize is that the value here needs to be greater than the second term. So term 1 must be larger than term 2. And the reason for that is that we've got a positive answer. We've got something, we subtract 500, and then we get a positive value of 500. So the easiest way for us to figure out what we need to do is to do the inverse operation on the right-hand side. So if we've got our answer 500, okay, which is this part, and we do the inverse of this part of term 2 on the right-hand side. So the inverse of minus was plus. So now instead of subtracting 500, we add the 500, which gives us 1,000. So now we know that if I have 1,000 and I subtract 500, I will get a final answer of 500. Okay, if that one was a little bit challenging, please follow and watch the next one. Click on the thumbnail popping up, balancing equations when the values are not the same on both sides of the equation, so that we can practice doing calculations with the inverse. Thank you for watching.